In recent decades, cities have become highly dependent on faraway sources for their food supply with negative outcomes. Air pollution, the need to genetically modify produce to sustain long transport, lack of food security, and high cost are some of these consequences.
But maybe we don't need to import all our fruits. Maybe it's finding an in-between between what we have now and something that's a little more sustainable.
Montreal needs to rethink the process of food production, distribution and consumption, and refocus the city's attention on urban agriculture. This approach sees the city and its immediate surroundings as a source of some of its food supply.
So the actual making of a city where there is urban agriculture is a city that's usually cleaner, safer, nicer.
In the near future, we can expect to see more initiatives in the area of urban agriculture by Montrealers. Driven by a desire to develop sustainable environments, have local commerce, and eat organic food, entrepreneurs, city administrators, and citizen farmers are putting seeds between the concrete cracks. Next spring, when the warm days are back, what will be their favorite activity? Gardening, I bet. The reality of food production is characterized by a stark contrast. On one hand, Canada and Montreal seem to be a land of plenty with an abundance of food. On the other hand, there are needy people and those with reduced mobility who rely on food banks for their meals. Santropol Roulant is a non-profit organization that helps bridge the gap between both. In their Senneville farm, volunteers grow a variety of nutritious and organic produce.
What's really great about, I guess, local or peri-urban or sort of our rural Quebec region's farming system is that you have a greater chance in changing the practices or influencing the way that the food is grown. So if I see who's eating the tomatoes I produce every day, I want those to be, healthy. I want those to be good tomatoes so that I know who's eating it.
Thank you. This is a truly organic tomato.
So I have a direct connection, and the person who's consuming it also has a direct connection with the farmer.
So it is, you can say that the nutrition value of this type of food is much better.
We can guarantee that there's no pesticides because we're certified organic. We only use organic fertilizers, so compost and manures. We never use any form of synthetic pesticides to take care of weeds or pests. So there's a lot of observation that's done, and then prevention, and our plants have to be really healthy to be able to to overcome some of the natural challenges that are put their way. So we really focus on having strong, healthy plants that are then more resilient to some of the, natural environmental conditions that occur on a farm.
In your view, is this the way society needs to consume food in the future? In other words, what is your idea about urban agriculture? Is it possible to support entire city or large portion of it from this type of farming?
I think that I think it's really important to have some urban agricultural projects, but I think even more it's very important to support farmers, local Quebec farmers who are farming close to urban areas and who are are really on agricultural land and valuing that land and creating rural communities that are strong and economically resilient. I think it's very important to also focus on the productive and nourishing capacity of peri-urban and rural communities.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me about the day in your own life. You come, it's raining here today.
Yeah.
And you came here. Tell me about what are you doing? What is your job?
So I live on the farm actually, and I'm the co-manager. So I see from planning the harvests and planning the crops in the fields. I do that in the winter. I do all of the planning in the winter. I make sure that we have, I coordinate with the different programs to make sure that we're meeting their needs. And I also do the marketing in the winter to make sure that we have all of our clients for the summer. And then in the summer, I'm there to make sure that we're always on track on our planting, that seeding is done, and that we're harvesting the right things at the right moment, that the weeds are under control, that the people who come to work are happy and satisfied in the work they do, that they know what has to be done, that we have the right tools at the right time, and that the produce is brought to where it has to be brought when it has to be brought.
In its Montreal base of operation, Santropol Roulant's volunteers process the food that was harvested in its Senneville farm and prepare it for distribution to those who rely on it. In their in-house store, excess produce is sold to the public.
Right now we're in the offices of Santropol Roulant on the plateau. This right here is the general store, and this is the hub of where we do our work. So at the heart of our organization is a Meals on Wheels program, where we deliver 100 meals a day to people who have a loss of autonomy or mobility. So the urban agriculture and the agriculture program all kind of interconnect into creating a community that's well-fed and healthy and well-connected to one another.
So how did it start? Who started it?
It started with two waiters from the Santropol Cafe in 1995 who saw a need in their community for people their own age, they were in their 20s at the time, to be more engaged in their community. At the same time, they also saw that people were going hungry, so they thought they would start an intergenerational Meals on Wheels program to kind of address those complementary issues in their community. And over the course of the years, the Meals on Wheels has maintained, it's still the heart of the organization, if you will, and around it we have the agriculture program that started and a bunch of collectives that have kind of attached themselves to the organization.
So this is a wonderful combination of bringing food from the farm right to the heart of the city.
Exactly.
Operations like the one the Santropol Roulant runs, where meals are cooked daily, need an efficient kitchen. Located in the organization's headquarters in the heart of Montreal, a team of volunteers turn the harvested produce into delicious food.
So now we're in the kitchen of Santropol Roulant. This is where the main activity happens, 5 days a week. Volunteers come in here, in the mornings they cook the food, in the afternoons they pack the food, and then the meals go out to about 100 clients all around the island of Montreal. Well, in the center of Montreal, let's say. So that's kind of the main activity that we do in this kitchen. More and more, we're really trying to open it up to other activities because we have a really great space here and we want the community beyond just our clients to benefit from it. But also, as we're doing that, we're teaching people. So people come, not only are they contributing to their community, but they're also learning as they do it.
It's the educational part of urban agriculture.
Exactly. So that's exactly what we're seeing here.
In addition to processing food from its Senneville farm, Santropol Roulant grows its own food in the heart of the city.
We grow about 40 different crops downtown. From here I can see zucchinis, cabbage, beets, lettuce. There's some herbs over there,
Carrots
there's eggplants, carrots, onions, we can keep going. Over on that side there's bees, so we also do a bee production. And this week I'm going to introduce some mushrooms into the wood chips so that hopefully in the fall we'll have mushrooms growing out of the alleys. So it's really kind of a diverse production, which is really what we focus on. Always an organic production. We think it's important to have an environmentally sustainable way of growing and showing that agriculture can be environmentally resilient. That's very important to us, and it's part of our educational mission and what we talk about. That's what really complements our work here with what the farm does.
One of the challenges faced by the city of Montreal is how to amend its current bylaws in order to widen the growing food practice and make it accessible to all. Rosemont is one of the city's more innovative boroughs in accommodating urban agriculture within its boundaries.
More and more people live in the city. They need to eat 3 times a day, hopefully, and it comes from further and further away. So just from a carbon footprint standpoint, more food growing within the city is better for everybody. But it's so much more than that. It's just more than just the feeding of the people. When you have urban agriculture in the middle of the city, neighbors see one another a lot more. It makes for more beautiful neighborings. It makes for more interesting places to visit. It makes for a much more closer citizenry. So the actual making of a city where there is urban agriculture is a city that's usually cleaner, safer, nicer. So all sorts of things that we really, really want, especially here in Montreal.
In your view, can city become a farm? You know, like we can grow food and we can satisfy our needs, perhaps not entirely, but partially by what we're growing here.
Oh, definitely, and we can do so much more. But then it boils down to what's the real issue in cities on not only urban agriculture, but any types of activities that we may have. And that's the issue of space, square foot, the scarcity of available square foot. And in the old thinking of cities, you know, the religion of cities is zoning. Each thing in its own place. So there is no real square foot dedicated per se to urban agriculture. That's our main problem. So now we need to rethink how we use that space. For example, here in the borough of Rosemont, we changed our bylaws in 2 fundamental ways. The first one is the following. Wherever you have an industrial zoning dedication, you have the right to have an activity in urban agriculture. The other side of the issue is if you look at a city from, say, 1,000 feet high, you're going to see great many lots that could be available that are just under use. And that's where the entire momentum of the sharing economy is changing everything. Because we think in a city that one function and one function alone, that's code for unproductive city. And the sharing economy is to have our cities turn more productive, more sustainable, and more entrepreneurial. And we say, if you want to commit that piece of land to urban agriculture, now you can. You no longer are required to carry some sort of impersonal, blend, average green lawn. It can be something else, something much more productive. More than that, if someone wants to rent out that square foot, front yard and backyard, to a neighbor or to an NGO dedicated to urban agriculture, now you can. That's allowed. Those are the new bylaws. And therefore, we're opening up thousands and thousands and thousands of new square foot now dedicated to more productive activities such as urban agriculture. So those are 2 main reforms.
One wonders about the long-term vision of those in charge of setting policies about food production and consumption in Montreal. Do you think that in the future we will have this kind of market, but also people who grow stuff in their backyard will be able to form an exchange? They will have maybe a kiosk here.
Oh, absolutely. And we can even go further than that. Imagine that you have at the corner of one street where people are doing this a lot, and then all the neighbors would put their production there, and for probably the street or perhaps any bypasser, and then just there you go, there you have it. We want to make it as easy as possible, as pleasant as possible. And for that we need to think differently about our bylaws. Stop sort of segregating functions, segregating ideas one end to another.
So people will, in other words, each street eventually, theoretically, can become a sort of semi-market.
We're here at the Marché Jean Talon, and people don't come here solely for the food, but for the experience that you couldn't have on any given street. Yes, you will meet your neighbors, but here you come and meet your friends. You meet the city at large. It's actually a great meeting place. It's a tourist destination now. It's a place where you come to have an experience. Just the same way you don't go to a restaurant solely because you're hungry. You go there to have an experience, if not with a friend, probably just to enjoy a specific type of food. You come here for the food and more. And this is what you have in a market like this. But we want to open this, and why not open it to the average citizen? The idea to have their product available here. And you can say to my friend, "Did you go to the Marché Jean Talon yesterday? My tomatoes were there. I bet you they're the best ones you've never had." That's the sort of city we want to create.
We commonly think about ground-level plots as growing places. But why not grow food on many of our roofs? These vast, unused urban surfaces can be turned into future growing areas. Rooftop gardens are not new, but the founders of Microhabitat decided to take the practice literally to the next level. The harvested produce is used by restaurants located on the ground floor.
So Alex and I were working in restaurant business, and we realized there was a lack of connectivity from the chef or the restaurant owners to their food, and we decided that we wanted to do something that could be good for the city. So we started to think about the ideas, and we decided to build Microhabitat from that.
How does it work? Restaurant owner call you, person who owns the roof call you? How does it work?
So it really works for everyone in the city. Anyone who would like to have a rooftop garden could ask us for the service. So it's for business owner, for restaurant owners, but also for individuals. What we do is we install, we maintain the garden, and we also harvest. So it's really an all-included service that people don't even need to go on the rooftop if they want their food. We could do it for them.
How the selection of produce is made? The owner tell you, I want to have this, or you recommend? How does it work?
It really starts with knowing how the rooftop is placed. So what quantity of sun they have, what's their particularity for their rooftop. And then we pre-selected some species that are ecological and rustic species. We asked the clients what they would like to harvest during their summer, and then we plan based on that.
So basically we have a garden that's pretty diverse. So we've got many things growing. We have herbs, we have vegetables, we have microgreens, and we have flowers as well. So we've got many different things growing in every pot. So some pots have certain types of combinations, whereas other types of pots have different types of combinations.
And when you get an order from a restaurant owner, how do you select what to grow and what to choose and what to plant?
So basically we work with the chefs to see with them what is their need, what they want to have growing on their rooftop. We try to see what's the produce that is I would say the most rare produce that's possible to grow. We try to grow things that are gonna be profitable. We try to go for varieties that are a bit more rare, things that we can't find in the supermarket.
How does it work economically?
When we first thought about our idea, we really wanted to make it accessible to everybody. So the service is actually repaid within the first year of operation.
Tell me about the process of installation. You bring these buckets?
Yeah. So,
and how does it work?
So it's fairly simple. Once we found a client that's interested to have a rooftop garden, we determine the size of the garden. We function in terms of pots. So this pot here, I would say, is our basic unit. So let's say for this garden, we've got 60 pots. It's a 60-pot garden. When, let's say, I have a client and I know the size of garden that client wants, then there's certain procedures that have to be followed just to make sure that we don't put too much weight on the rooftop. We bring all the materials up to the rooftop, and then we do the installation. So we fill our pots up with the medium that we use. So usually we'll have a nice combination of soil with vermiculite, perlite. We also have compost, and we try to make a very healthy soil.
How often you have to come and maintain, weed, water?
So per garden, I would say it's about 2 times per week. Both times I'm gonna water, which is fairly important because on the rooftop it's very hot. You need a lot of, the plants, they transpirate, so they use a lot more water than they normally would in a field.
Now, we are here in the heart of the city, in the middle of Westmount, seeing many dark roofs with asphalt. Do you believe that this is the way of the future?
No, I'm totally convinced that we're going to see some green on around the city. It's going to increase a lot throughout the year. It's starting. It's just Montreal is a little backward, and we're happy actually that we're the first movers in this type of field.
So in your view, it's not only roof. The garden can be installed in many other places,
yes.
Vacant spaces in the city, even indoor spaces.
Yes, it's something that's going to be, it's going to need a lot more research. Is for sure the cost of growing food inside is much more than if you were to grow outside, because outside you have all the benefits of having that beautiful environment that's helping you. But for sure it's going to come in the next years, and I think the costs are going to decrease as much as when people are going to adhere to the service, it's going to be more accessible to everybody.
We commonly tend to think about food stores as vending places. This is where food produced far away is sold to reach our kitchen counters. One wonders, however, if in the future, food store will transform into going places. Bleu et Persillé does exactly that.
It was a dream, and because I make the trip in France in 2014, okay, and I visited the cheese store when I was a kid, and when I come back I say, oh, I want a cheese store, because presently I have a grocery store, okay, and I say, oh, I want, if I sell my grocery, I want to continue to work with passion. And I am very, I like the cheese, I like the food, I like the wine. But for me, the cheese is not just good, it is beautiful.
Now, one of the things that is unique for this store is that you have glass wall in the front and glass wall in the back. How the idea came to be? How did you think about it?
I will be honest with you, the idea is not mine, it's the architect, Zhang is a famous architect in Montreal. And I agree immediately, because often when I walk on the street, it's not easy to know if the store is open or closed, because it's no light, too dark. And I say to Zhang, I want a store, but I want the light, I want the sun, I want the view. He said, okay, I have an idea. And he decided to break the wall and make the window with the yard. Each season we have a thematic. We have different for the fall, for the winter, and presently is my favorite things, because we have the bee.
The bees at the back.
The bees in the back. And
now, how the idea for the bees came about, and I believe that this is really unique, that in a store you will produce food as well. I
met the Alvéole company, is a Quebecois company, and I spoke with the manager, and usually they organize the home on the roof. On the roof. But nobody go to the roof, just your friends and your family. And we organized this presentation, the bee on the yard, because it's unbelievable. And a lot of people come just on the store with the kids, with everything, just to see that. It's the first time.
In the heart of the city.
Exactly.
I see that you produce all kind of types of honey. And tell me about, what do we see here? This kind of bees with honeycomb inside.
It's sure that it's easy for me to make the home recipe. I have this with the
honeycomb.
Honeycomb, and I have one other.
And you have this one. This is, I believe, with something else. What do we have here?
Is with the truffle from France. With the some pâté foie gras, smell it.
Ah, smell fantastic.
Truffle and
wonderful.
Honey is the fabulous.
You were in the food business for a long time.
Oh, yes.
Do you see changes? Are we seeing now things that are more organic, local? Is there a change? Tell me about the changes that you see.
It's unbelievable. Actually, if you don't work with the local, with the organic, with natural product, you must to change a job. Not just because you are on this neighborhood, the plateau is
small or innovative.
Small, but
yeah.
In my grocery, I have the fruit and the department. And the organic fruit is my major augmentation, sale augmentation, since 3 years.
People are more conscious of what they eat. And seems to me that the beauty of this place is the way you arrange the things. I see all the cheese, everything is visible. Is this a new way you invented, a new way to present food?
This comptoir is good because now you can see the cheese, the seller come on the cheese on the table, and you can to taste, you can to smell, you can
touch. Also almost like a market.
Exactly.
Our local cheese, it's made in Roulant, Quebec. So it's a special cheese because it's made of buffalo milk, which is pretty rare. Let's try it. It's not too salty. It's pretty creamy. It has a very little
the contact is totally different.
Wonderful. So people now have better contact with food. It's not anymore like in a supermarket, but it is a personal contact with food.
Pretty special.
The cheese is beautiful. You must it's a show.
Almost like butter. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's very creamy, very soft.
And it's not salty at all, which I like very
not
much.
too salty. Yeah, we have
and it
salty
has wonderful
cheese.
flavor.
Yes, it is.
This fridge is beautiful. It's not just a show because it's a unique fridge. They control the humidity. It's the first time in Canada this company installed this
type
fridge.
of fridge,
Yes.
which is not only storage but also beautiful demonstration.
Exactly.
It's like an exhibition, being in a museum of food.
Thank you so much.
With the honey at the back. In addition to harvesting local nutritious food, urban agriculture can become one of the pillars of Montreal's new creative economy. Growing and processing food can potentially generate many full and part-time jobs in our own backyard.
This type of operation really makes sense because it's medium to small scale. It could be run by a family. It's giving loads of opportunities for jobs, like interesting jobs for people who live in those communities. And it's like teaching people how to work hard, and it's also a direct link between the consumer and the producer, because often these types of farms where we're our community supported agricultural farms or market garden farms that are directly selling to the consumer, they see the person they're selling to, and the person who's purchasing sees also who's producing it. So there's that rapport of confidence and of exchange that is really important.
You think that there is a social value, an economic value in urban agriculture. So it's not only the nutritional value, but we create a social system.
Absolutely, yeah. And urban agriculture, but also peri-urban and rural agriculture. I absolutely believe that.
Santropol Roulant seems to have created a comprehensive food system from production of composted soil, growing food, cooking and distribution.
So what we talk about here is we really like to model what's possible in a city. We're not trying to solve all the problems. We're not saying that this is the solution necessarily, but hopefully by people coming here and visiting our space and working in our space or volunteering in our space, they can take inspiration and learn about different ways in which cities can become productive spaces. So the compost is a great example of that, in which it's an instrumental part of the food cycle loop, right? So we grow on the rooftop, we sow seeds in the spring, we harvest the fruits of those seeds, they go down to the kitchen, they're cooked and served to our clients. The waste from that, a part of it comes down here, it's composted, that compost can then be reused in the gardens and we start the cycle all over again.
Theoretically, in the past, farmers used to pickle their stuff and eat it in the winter.
Yeah.
Is this probably the way of the future? The idea of having fresh, not everything, but fresh?
Well, it's kind of the idea of the past in a certain sense, right? Whereas now we're used to going to the grocery store and finding a mango anytime we want, or a pineapple. What we're trying to do as we continue to grow our production is to see how, even though our agricultural season is relatively limited in southern Quebec, we want to extend that season. So we do that through pickling, through making sauces and freezing them, or through fermentation.
So you mean that in the future we may not have to fly things from Florida or California?
Oh, we probably don't have to now. It's just the choices we make. So that's where the education comes in, and having people learn how to preserve the foods that are grown here and how to appreciate them and eat them differently. I think we really enjoy having all these kind of, like coffee, for example. We're never going to go coffee in Quebec, and maybe we'll always import coffee, but maybe we don't need to import all our fruits. You know, maybe it's finding an in-between between what we have now and something that's a little more sustainable.
A number of changes are currently taking place in Montreal. Food production and consumption are some of them. There is no doubt that in the future we will continue to shop for food in local supermarkets. Yet, an increasing number of us will grow organic and nutritious produce on our roofs or in our yards. Thank you for joining me on the porch.